Hello, hello. It's Pamela Wilson, and you are tuned in to the Online Business Expert Series. This is our very first live interview, and I am thrilled to have Silke Schwarzkopf here with me from Second Act TV. I have you on screen. Silke, you want to say hello?
Hello.
I am.
And I was just going to say, Pamela just said it's the first live. Live is something that I've avoided. So this is really fun for me today.
Yay, that's great. That's awesome. This is the first time I've done this kind of interview live, and who better to have a first time live interview with than you because you have so much video experience. So, I found Silka on YouTube because I was looking for inspiring YouTube channels when I was rebooting my own channel back last year. And I was looking for people who are serving similar audiences. And Silka's Second Act TV is so impressive. She is the founder of this channel, Second Act TV, and it is focused on relationships, dating, and finding love and living your life to its fullest after 50. So I think that's a wonderful cause for all of us. So I just want to welcome you to the Online Business Expert Series. I'm thrilled that you're here.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. I'm excited for our conversation. I'm going to learn something, and hopefully, I have things to share that might help or resonate with your audience.
Yes, I love it. Okay, so let's start out with talking about who the biggest fans of your channel are. Who are the people who are just there for everything you publish on your channel?
Well, okay, in a nutshell, obviously, it's the over 50 gang. I mean, we go or provide programming for people over 50 who, well, they want to restart, as you said, life over again, or for whatever reason, be it divorce, be it an illness, be just, you wake up at 50 and is this all there is?
Mm.
How do I want to spend the rest of my life? And those people are comprised of, I think, if we want to get to the little statistics, it's 45 to 65 is the majority, probably 80% of our audience. We do skew younger, believe it or not. There's a good chunk, but mostly 45 to 65. And this was a big surprise for me, 50% or more is male. When the channel was originally intended for women, I didn't think that necessarily that men were interested in some of the stuff we talk about, but I was wrong.
Well, and that's so fascinating. I think that's part of what's so interesting about online business is that you go into it thinking you know who's going to show up and who you're targeting, and sometimes it's a completely different group, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and it's people, who are looking for advice specifically for relationships. That's our biggest chunk. Like if you go online right now, type in dating over 50, finding love after 50, our videos will come up probably as number in the top 10, or if not number one. And that's something that I'm not paying for. This just happened because of the way programming is produced. And I mean, I have no idea. That's what I'm saying. I learned so much going along, in creating this channel of how you interact and do stuff online.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. And I just want to let you know, I'm looking, I don't know if you can see chat, but we have Bob, who's a fan of this channel in chat saying, I'm a guy and I'm here. So, so that's a good thing. So,
Hi,
yeah.
Mom.
So I would love to know, and you said a lot of what you talk about is relationships. How else do you make your viewers' lives better? Because I know you put a lot of effort into your content. So what's your goal there? How do you make their lives better?
Well, let me answer that by maybe giving just a little bit of background. I think it will make more sense. I started, after 25 years of marriage, I decided to leave my marriage. I couldn't take it anymore, and I stayed longer than I should have. I thought I was crazy at the time for doing that, and when I actually did and started sharing what's going on, with my family, with my close friends, it's like, why are you waiting so long? And oh my God, I feel the same way. And from that on, I learned about gray divorce, that's a phenomenon. Right now, after 50, that's the highest, divorce rate. And, I'm not trying to advocate divorce by any means. It's just a fact. And once I started focusing on that, it is like we had so many questions, and if I don't know this, if so many other people don't know this, if so many other people are in this situation, then this might make some really great content. I am a producer by trade. I've done interviews, television, all that, pretty much all my life. Not on camera. That's something that's new for me too. But through that and the way that we treated that topic, and like I said, I treated it from more from the female perspective, but men started being like fly on the wall. Like, what are these ladies talking about? And
Well,
we
and
talked.
you have to wonder if they were excited to find a place where they could even get the female perspective.
I think that's a big part of it. I mean, we have the interaction I get with men on the channel as well. Like pretty much now, every video we post has just gets a blog of comments, and some are really deep. I mean, people listen; they really want to know this stuff, And it moved from that initial focus on divorce. Maybe it was a shadow of my own life, to then how to find love again, how to date again, how to online date. That's really funny. There's lots of funny stories there.
That
And
that
then
must keep you busy. That alone.
exactly, exactly. And then it moved into rediscovering intimacy.
Hmm.
And huge, huge, huge topic that people really don't know where to go to get honest advice, or even ask questions that we don't know who to ask, not even your doctor. And we cover that kind of stuff, and I think that's what's attracted both men and women.
I have to say, I think one of the best things about the internet is that you can get those kind of embarrassing questions answered in a way that you don't have to sort of expose yourself or feel super uncomfortable asking. And yes, it's true, not every source of information is equally valid. You work really hard to bring people on who are experts, who have expertise and can help.
That's You just made a really good point. I'm just assuming everybody who I'm talking to knows my format. But yeah, I don't consider myself an expert in anything. I'm a producer, and I bring people together that can answer certain questions that people want answered. So every one of my shows is like what you and I are doing. It's in an expert format on a specific topic. And I think that has helped to the engagement, and people are maybe a bit more take it a little bit more seriously. There's a little bit more confidence in the advice that we give, and I try to make it fun. I try to, it's okay to ask stupid questions. It's okay to ask embarrassing questions. I have revealed a lot about myself that I never thought I would reveal, but by being transparent and just real, I think people appreciate that.
Well, and they feel more comfortable being transparent and real themselves if they see you doing it, right? You're sort of leading by example. That's wonderful. So, this leads to the next question I had for you, which is which life skills do you bring to this project? And obviously, having the producer background and this idea that I don't have to be the expert on everything. I can just bring on experts, ask them the best questions, try to represent the questions that my audience has and ask those, right? So obviously the producer skills, but what other life skills would you say you bring to the table?
You mean for from a business perspective, or for the viewers?
So I mean, what life skills do you bring to the work you do at Second Act TV? So, what other, besides being a producer, what other things have helped to make that project go so well?
Well, I think my own experience and being willing, to share that, and partially, and I guess it's under the production hat or producer hat, but my I think I have a really good ability to interview. That I've
Mm.
produced a documentary style production, in all my life. I love getting people's stories and making them the center of attention instead of myself. And I've gotten lots of great, great stuff that way. And that some people are comfortable doing, some people are not. I think I am also comfortable on camera, which is not, I just am, and that's difficult for some people. So if they want to start a YouTube channel, they really want that's something that you need to take into consideration. You know
Right.
how you can come across.
And it does get easier over time. I will go ahead and
Yes.
raise my hand and say that it did. I mean, you have to be willing to be bad at it for a while until you get better at it. I'm not good at it yet, but better. You get better over time. So I also wonder if part of what you're bringing to the table is the fact that you actually know the power of video because you've been using that power your whole career, it sounds like.
That's funny. We actually produced videos at one point. A lot of my stuff was for marketing. It wasn't for general consumption. It was very targeted. But one of the videos we were asked to produce is the power of video. I mean, I'm old enough to where there was actually video marketing to where you mailed out VHSs. That was like the big thing. You got a VHS in the mail.
Oh my gosh, I
Then you were
remember
going to
those days. Yes.
you knew you were going to open it and watch it,
Right.
for direct mail. So yes, I do understand the power of it, and yeah, hopefully I'm using it, you know, to my advantage as well as to everybody else's.
And I have to say that can be one of the things that pushes you through that awkward period because if you know that the end product is going to be powerful, you're willing to be awkward while you create it, right? Feel awkward and just do what has to get done. So, and then the other thing I wonder, Silka, is if when you look at the project of Second Act TV, what are some personal values that you feel are reflected in Second Act TV? Sounds like transparency and getting questions answered, important questions answered for your audience. That's part of it. But what else would you say?
I To me, what came to mind right away when you said that is the ability to or the wanting to learn more and understanding what your role is in everything you experience in life. That I think is huge, and I think it's something that I never start anything with telling somebody or kind of trying to convince somebody. It's all about getting the information and then let's talk about it. And what I've learned is through the comments and interactions that a lot of people don't, you know, there's blame. Everything goes outward. There's not looking inward. Like, what can I actually control in my life, in my business life, in my personal life, in my romantic life? And what can't I? And how, by understanding that, can I change things?
It sounds like part of what you're trying to do is empower people so they can feel like they're taking control of things a bit.
Yeah, well, yes, exactly. I mean, one of our taglines really is it's never too late to be the person you always wanted to be. And to a large extent, that is absolutely true. Now, you may, if you wanted to be, an Olympic athlete and you didn't achieve that, well, maybe you achieved that some other way. Like for me, for example, I always wanted to be a journalist. I wanted to, have a talk show. That was a big thing when I was in college. And anyway, I made other choices, marriage, to where I gave that up for a man.
Right.
But that was what I always wanted. And I'm now achieving that and living it on my own terms through this channel.
It's so wonderful. And when you think about it, I mean, you had a dream to have your own talk show, but YouTube wasn't around at that time. So you couldn't have dreamt this up. I mean, you do really have your own talk show. It's just maybe in a different format and delivered a little bit differently than how you thought back in the day, right?
Right, exactly. And that's kind of the message is if there's something you really want to do, if there's something you look back and maybe you regret that you didn't do, and that's a whole other topic, regret. How can you once come to terms with it? And then how do you move forward and actually achieve at least part of that or get the same sort of satisfaction that you might have? Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense. So it sounds a little bit like knowing what you want, but also being flexible and willing to adapt so that you can make that happen in a way that makes sense right now.
Yeah, totally. Totally. And I think a lot of people at any age will tell you that once you go after something, and you have a plan with them, be willing to that's a good lesson for producers. You produce, you have a plan in place that's sometimes down to the second, and then you do it all different depending on what goes on. And that, yeah, the ability to be flexible and adjust is really, really important. And it might make you realize that what you actually thought you wanted, you didn't want, and something comes out that's much better than what you initially created or wanted to create.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Staying open to things being even better than you imagined, right?
Right.
Okay. So here's a juicy question that somebody like me really wants to hear about. What is a week in the life of running a, really healthy YouTube channel? What does that look like for you?
Oh, that's, yeah. Well, that might be a boring answer. Well, one thing that if you really want to run a YouTube channel, the first thing you have to come to terms with, you need to be able to do everything yourself. Unless you have money and this is a dream and hire a team and put it together for you, you have to know everything yourself. That means shooting, editing, producing, so and so. So my week, primarily my days consist of one, doing research, reading a lot about topics that are out there. And a lot of my content I draw or I'll get an idea from articles, and I'll have content experts on. I have some regulars now to where, this would be a great conversation for them. And then it's about, contacting and scheduling interviews, trying to figure out what would work, what wouldn't. And then, of course, the most tedious, although I love it, is editing. After you shoot, that's always fun, like we're doing now. But in my case, I edit. And I am somewhat of I've done this all my life, and I bring way too much perfectionism to it. It's something I need to change, which is like, I love this right now, what we're doing. I can't wait to see how it turns out because I want to start incorporating that. Wouldn't it be great just to be done after you say cut?
Yeah, and that's, it's funny, just for the audience watching, Silke and I had this conversation, and I said, I want to do this interview live, and she was not familiar with doing things this way. So I said, oh, you're not going to want to go back after you see how easy it is. So because so much of getting YouTube videos produced is that editing piece. It takes hours and hours to create, sometimes very short videos can take hours and hours to put together. So the idea that in my case, my audience actually responds even better to the live content than they do to the content that's super edited. So I think having a mix can be really fascinating, and there are all these tools that make it really easy. So that's the context. So anyway, I don't want to stop you. I still want to hear more about what this typical week is like for you.
Well, I think that you made a really good point, is that when I got sort of put off by live, when I saw like even 3 years ago, what some of it looked like, it was hard to watch. And now, like this technology you're using is just very impressive. So anyway, I digress. I have at least 8 hours a day dedicated to this in one form, one shape or another. But most of it means interacting with people that are so interesting that, I really love that. It's really not like work. Like people say, if you love what you do, then it's not like you're working. And then, I work, I'm an afternoon or evening, runner, or I used to be. Not as much anymore, but I do try to stay fit and do that. And then, Paul and I, my boyfriend, we try to get some weekday time in, as well as, of course, the weekends. Does that answer?
Yes, it totally does. So, and I didn't hear you say anything about answering comments, and I know you get tons of comments. So how do you manage that?
Oh, that you're right. That is taking up more and more time. But of course, I love it. When you put something out and people actually tell you that they care, or not, as I got one today, you do want to interact, and they appreciate it. So comments probably takes up a good hour, if not two, a day.
And that's something I've heard from somebody else who has a pretty large YouTube channel, that it's like an hour a day job. So, and it's so important because people see that there's actually a human being on the other side of things. So, right. I don't think you can see the chat right now, Silke. You'll be able to see it after I send you the final link. But I just want to let you know that people are loving this. So,
Oh,
yeah, we're getting lots of good comments. And somebody from my team actually jumped in and said, I'm loving this format. And she has been involved in creating these super edited versions of these interview videos. And she's liking this change. So,
oh, good.
yeah, and viewers are liking it too. So, thank you so much for being the person to test this out with me. So, all right, that's a great view of what your typical week is like. I can definitely see that your producer background is essential in the work that you do. Putting together great guests and having ongoing guest appearances by people and then just kind of assigning content. I love all of that. So, what I wonder is now that you have established this channel and you have the success that you have, what do you see happening in the future?
Good question.
Get out that crystal ball, Silka. What do you
Yeah,
see?
I I want to get to a point where I can just produce from anywhere, which I guess I can right now because we are looking at, maybe retiring in the next year or so. And for me, retirement means being able to work anywhere and do this. This to me is not work. Uh, I need to actually put some research into what do you do? What's the next step when you do have a channel that has a lot of attention? Is it marketable? Is it scalable? I don't know. If you ask me my ideal business model, and I'm very naive when it comes to this, is I would love to have like three or four main sponsors or contributors or somebody who really believes in what we're doing and would like to be a part of it, perhaps, and have some sort of a monthly retainer or, to where they benefit from it. And I'm not tied to sponsors but, I mean, I get hundreds of offers just now about like a wig. Ugh. I don't want, I'm not going to do that or stuff that I would never endorse. I don't want to do that. I like to be able to keep the programming, authentic, but have it be, perhaps sponsored or where other people can benefit. I'll give you an example. Have done tons of stuff on bioidentical hormones because that's one thing that changed my life. I can speak to that completely authentically, and I'm very open about it. And I get hundreds of comments on that, and I've never gotten paid a cent for it from anybody that produces them. Now, granted, I haven't really gone after it. Yeah, I'm in conversation with that, but somebody like that could be totally involved in this. Either directly, maybe I do a video once a month, directly with that. I don't know, but that's what I'm trying to figure out right now. What sort of weight, if you will, the level of my channel carries at this point, and what
It's
I can do.
it's funny. I hear that and I'm like, that's what a business coach would call low hanging fruit. Right? Yeah, that has a lot of potential if it's a topic that you can speak to very authentically and you know that even well into the future you're going to feel great talking about that. Yeah,
Yes.
that's low hanging fruit. Go pick that fruit, Silga. That's awesome. All right. Well, what is there anything else that we need to include for people like that we haven't gone over that you want to make sure people know?
Well, if the intent, today of today's interview, I know yours is a business focused channel. So if there are people who, think that it would be fun to do this, and it is, it does take a lot of dedication. I mean, you have to be. I think one of the keys to actually making a channel take off is regular posting at the same time. I have some friends who are just incredible producers who are doing incredible content that's not being, it's not being watched because it's kind of comes and goes and it's not targeted right. My targeting, my titles, my keywords are very basic. It's like I cater to, third graders, but that's what works in SEO. So it's that to me is the biggest lesson. And when people ask me now, that's the first thing I say is if you're not willing to regularly post at the same time, keep it and stick with it, then this wouldn't be it. Unless you just want to do it for fun. If you actually want to build a channel that's marketable, it takes a lot of work. It's not, it's not easy.
No, of course, yeah. And I think the audience responds to that kind of consistency, right?
Right.
They know that they can count on you and you're going to be there week after week with really great content for them, and that people respond to that. They love it.
Right. Yeah, I have people that literally wait when the video releases, and I'll have comments from them, and that makes you feel so good.
Oh my gosh. Yes. So you're doing all this work and all the editing and the prep, and then they're waiting to see what you post.
I mean,
That's
it's not
amazing.
hundreds, but it's
That's
it's
amazing. All right, you've given me a new dream. Okay, everybody watching, I want somebody to tune in and wait for the videos to publish. That is a great dream. So people can find you at Second Act TV on YouTube. That's the best place, right? And I
yeah.
did add a link to chat, and we'll put a link in the description as well so that people can easily find your channel. And I want to thank you so much, Silka, for joining me for this Online Business Expert series, for our first live version of the series. I really appreciate you being here and for your amazing answers. And thank you to everybody who's been here live as well.
Well, yeah, thank you. I mean, I'm honored that you think, that I have something to contribute. Yeah, I mean, I do have a popular and channel, but really, when compared to the real big ones, and I'm small. I'm the what's not.
Everything is relative, though,
Yeah,
because your
it's
channel is
relative.
massive compared to mine. So everything is relative, you know.
It is. It's a niche. We've gotten into a niche that's growing, that's popular, and that's really fun to serve. So.
That's amazing. And that niche piece is so important. I mean, knowing who you're serving and not trying to serve everyone is really
Right.
important so that you can have success. So I so
Yeah.
appreciate you sharing all of that. And I hope maybe we can do this again sometime. And maybe
Oh,
I'll see you doing some lives on your channel as well.
well, I'd love to have you on the channel. It's funny. I know we need to end, but it's what's really resonated is the relationship stuff. I've done stuff like recreating like your career and people don't really come to me for that. So
Yeah.
you and I need to brainstorm and find something, because I'd love to have you on Second Act too, because this is really important.
It is. We'll find something to talk about. That would be fun. That would be amazing, actually. So thank you. All right, everyone who has joined us, thank you. You made it all the way to the end. Thank you. And thank you so much, Silka. And I can't wait to see what happens next on Second Act TV.
Well, thank you, Pamela. Again, it was an honor to be here.
Take care.